Welcome everyone for the 6th round post-fight show, live following UFC shit show. UFC Hamburg, and with
UFC
me.
Decision Fest. UFC Pride is dead. UFC son of a bitch. Shogun needs to stop fighting.
Yeah, I feel for him because it's not like he hasn't been. Suddenly Daniel Cormier is like, yeah, Shogun's gonna get that title shot and all that. He's been winning. He's been fighting only once a year because of constant injuries, and I love Shogun, and I wish that I wish that combat sports wasn't all about watching your idols die slowly. But
It's not all about that, but that is a significantly soured part of the sport. To be a fan, it's like no one else has to watch that. They have to like watch their heroes give up a bunch of home runs.
MJ fans have to watch Jordan go back to and play for the
Wizards.
The Wizards, yeah. But that's not really the same. It's like if he played for the Wizards and every 10 games or so, like another part of him just kind of fell off, and you're just like, I don't know. That's kind of more.
But there's not even a comparison. Like we legit watch our dudes like get beat the fuck up for real. And this was such a brutal knockout. Like it pains me to see. Like I'm happy for Smith. I like Smith.
Oh, yeah.
But to watch, man, that was like, dude was like dead standing. You know what I mean?
Shogun went out, so you could see his eyes roll back as he fell along the cage. And the worst part is, of course, that he snapped right back up and starts fighting the ref off because he doesn't know where he is and he doesn't know what's going on. It's an ugly, brutal KO.
Yeah, and like even during the stare down, like right before the fight, I'm just like, holy shit, Shogun. Like, this isn't going to be good for you, dude. Like,
no.
You don't look like a fighter.
There's a difference, too, between, beating John Vellante and Little Nog and even Corey Anderson and beating some, like, young, hungry power. Well, and Smith's not, his career isn't that young, but beating some power striker who's looking to make a name off you.
Man, a very tough loss. But yeah, like Shogun's wins gave me no hope. Like, Daniel Cormier wants to be like, oh, Shogun's on a winning streak. Yeah. Okay, on paper. But like the dude has been I wrote Shogun off when he first got to the UFC. I thought he was done back then. So maybe
that was a long ass time ago.
Because this was a very, very brutal knockout. See someone get knocked out standing, like that's hard to watch, especially in Idol. It's
and
bittersweet. But good on Anthony Smith because he's 2-0 now at light heavyweight. So 205 seems to be his stomping ground. And first Rashad Evans, and now Shogun. He's like cleaning out the old heads from the division. Maybe Shogun will retire after this.
Yeah. I don't know. Shogun's always seemed like the kind of dude who just wants to fight until fighting is done with him rather than he's done with fighting.
I think fighting's done with him is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That was hard to watch.
We'll see. We'll see. I don't have the faith, but we'll find out.
You don't have the faith that he'll retire?
No.
Smart.
Maybe his bro's holding down a position for him at that gas station, but
ouch.
Fighters and money, it's just, I don't know. Is Shogun like super rich that he can just live the rest of his life off MMA? I hope so.
But I have no idea, man.
Yeah, I have no idea. Light heavyweight bout before that. Well, Anthony Smith, he called out. I felt a little bad for Jim Manua. They set him up at cage side, like, yeah, we got this fight right here for you, Anthony Smith. What do you think? And he's like, nope.
Yeah, he's like, that's cool, but I'd rather just expressway my way to the top.
Yeah.
I'm going to call out Alexander Gustafsson. Super smart move on Smith's behalf because two things. One, it's a bigger fight, maybe even more money for him. Number two, the prize for winning is a lot bigger than the beating Manua. And number three, like, come on, Manua, like that guy.
It's a more winnable fight for Smith because he's not as tough as Manua.
Nah, but like that doesn't even
Gustafsson,
count
or
for
he's
Smith
not as tough
because
as Gustafsson, rather.
he's
But
so down to lose a fight. His style is so beatable. Smith's style is that like he could easily lose his next fight.
oh
So
yeah,
he might as well go as high as he can while
exactly.
he
Yeah,
can.
yeah. You chase the money. You put yourself. He's put
Oh,
himself in position to get bigger fights than it ever looked like Smith would get in his career. And this is a dude who he was going on runs and they're fun, but it was also punctuated by a hard loss to Thiago Santos and Cesar Ferreira behind it, and knocking out Rashad Evans and Shogun Hua. It's like it looks great on paper, but it doesn't mean that much right now. So
yeah. And
if
I
you
think he
think
would
that,
much rather fight in the United States than probably wherever they were trying to book Manua against.
yeah, but they can probably, if you can get yourself a title contention bout about that, you win that, and people are like, well, we give him a title shot now, then you got to take that fight. You gotta aggressively pursue that fight.
So when was Gustafson's last fight?
His was that Glover Teixeira win, I think.
Yeah, it was. So that was May of 2017.
Yeah.
So like he's been out of the game so long, but now instead like John Jones is out of the picture and he's stuck fighting Anthony Smith.
Yeah,
Like,
DC, what was it? Mookie, as Mookie said, DC's gonna retire, and we're gonna get Anthony Smith versus Jan Blachowicz for like the legit uncontested light heavyweight title.
yeah, man. But hopefully, I feel like we got quite a few light heavyweights on this card that
There,
you know.
there are people rising up. There are people finally starting to make waves as some of the older fighters in this division finally are falling off enough to be beatable. Speaking of which, right before that, Corey Anderson put the grind on Glover Teixeira.
It's like we've seen the wheels kind of slowly falling off to Shera as he gets older and older. He starts getting more hittable in his fights. But this one, I mean, he did well at first with stopping the takedown, but then the grind was just too much for him. And
Yeah.
so the offensive wrestling of Anderson was tough to deal with. And then Anderson started landing his hands. So it's like, damn, dude, you're losing the striking battle and you're losing the wrestling battle. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't a good look for you.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
keyed in on something really that helped him a ton, which is that Glover's never been a big counterpuncher so much as he is a guy who wants to stalk forward and move into the pocket, leading with hooks on his own. Which meant that as long as Anderson stayed busy, he didn't have a lot of stuff. He didn't have a lot coming back at him, and Glover then had to counter that by upping the pace. And dude's 39. That that was only going to last so long and work so long for him.
I hated this fight, honestly. I checked out after round 2 because it was like we had, I don't even know how many decisions leading up to this. I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4.
That was the 9th, so that we had 8 decisions leading up to it,
Yeah.
10 overall.
Yeah, so it was the 9th straight decision, and I'm just like, I'm done. Like, I'm done typing. I'm done fucking watching this fight. Like,
yeah,
I don't. But good for Anderson. It helps him move up. Beating the number 3 guy, and he did look good, man. His footwork looked good. Like he was doing the right stuff on the ground. I don't know, man. He looked pretty decent. Can he repeat a performance like that against as he moves up? I guess that's what really remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean his chin is bad for elite light heavyweight, but it's not quite the same as like what we're it's not so bad that he's just getting knocked out early. He's been able to make it into the 3rd round of both his knockout losses, so it's not god awful. But it also means that as a fairly low power volume striker grinding wrestler, he has to be staying safe the whole fight. He has to be, because if he fights OSP again, you would feel like that fight would go pretty much the exact same way, with him just dominating for as long as he lasts and then potentially getting cracked by something. So at the very top of the division, he's always going to have that question of, you don't have the chin to be an elite light heavyweight, and you don't have the power to make up for the chin. So who knows? But he's got a shit ton of energy and a grinding wrestling style. So you can put that on a lot of people below him.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where he goes from here. Like, is he going to take on new guys, or there's some rematches that are available for him also? But I don't really care.
Yeah,
I don't care what happens.
Tough. It's tough to be excited by the grinder who you've already seen lose and get knocked out several times. Like, I mean, he got knocked out by Manoa too. I forgot that was like in the first round, instant.
That was scary.
Yeah. And his knockout losses to Manoa and OSP, those aren't like distant past. That was last year. So there's still a lot of, there are a lot of fights out there that he's just going to have to prove something.
He's got a win over Blakovic too.
Yeah, no, he's got some good
everybody.
Wins. Like this Teixeira win's great too. It's going to put him right at the top of the division. It's just a very uninspiring top of the division.
Maybe they'll just give him like Ozdemir when he comes back.
Yeah, they might.
But I don't care.
All right, you're rustling a little.
Oh, crap. I forgot about the...
Yep.
There we go.
All right, before that, Abu Azaitar beat Vitor Miranda. This fight was fuck awful.
It didn't start that way, though. It started out awesome.
Azaitar swinging a whole hell of a lot of bombs, and Miranda just kind of being a deer in the headlights. And then Miranda just got tired, and Azaitar just got tired, but kept throwing hard, and that was about it.
Yeah, the first half of the first round was dope. I was like, man, how long can he keep this pace up? He's like Mightier Mouse out here. Like, this dude is like a savage, ripping the body, ripping the head, mean hooks, crazy pace. And then it just kind of turned into a crazy scrambling war that fizzled.
Between two guys who aren't very good grapplers.
Yeah, so it definitely fizzled. And Miranda just didn't mount any offense, really. He couldn't generate any damage, so...
Nope. He got pretty clearly scared off by Azaitar's power early on and could never find a way back into the fight beyond grappling, which is not something he's great at. So that just kind of... Yeah.
And even it was more just controlling and not really striking any. And there was like one actually pretty decent armbar attempt from him there late, but like... It turned into like that funky, like triangle / inverted triangle scenario. It was kind of cool, but kind of a stinker.
Yeah, and Azaitar, he gets a good win. I'm still a little worried about his just tendency to go wild and throw crazy shit all the time. It'll make him fun to watch, especially against other low-level middleweights. But it also felt like if Miranda were not 40, he would probably have found ways to pick Azaitar off as that fight wore on.
Which is why I'm like, it's must see, because he's got the style that creates knockouts for better or worse.
Yeah, very true. For that, Marcin Tybura beat Stefan Struve, and I wouldn't have pegged this fight to come down to wrestling. Honestly, I didn't really think that was going to be the ace in the hole for Tybura.
Yeah.
But Struve showed a nice range game for once. He actually worked behind a jab and front kicks and low kicks and head kicks and kept things busy and out at distance, but he couldn't stop takedowns. And, for all the people who are constantly talking about how great Struve's guard is, it's really not that great.
Well, I mean, it was good a decade ago,
it was good when he had to submit Pat Barry and LeVar Johnson.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, when the sport was a lot different back then. Like, the sport has definitely advanced, and Struve has advanced a little bit, but like nothing noticeable. He's still a real laggy heavyweight, super tall and slow, like super slow, painfully slow even, and had nothing on the ground, like absolutely nothing. And he got his shit split so bad right here.
Yeah, he had that second mouth. It was
it was gruesome. His chance of growing a goatee moving forward.
That was some Hellraiser shit, no question.
It was gruesome, and it was from that elbow that Tybura threw there at the bottom. And it's funny too, because as soon as he threw that elbow, Struve was like, "Oh, you motherfucker!" And like he all of a sudden got the ability.
He got up and hit that snapping front kick. He threw punches behind it, and he was going well, but he couldn't stay on his feet. And
so it's almost like, if Struve's corner would just elbow him like that in the mouth before the fight, he comes out pissed.
Just like start slapping him in the face, get him riled.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, Danny Roberts beat David Zawada by split decision.
Hold on, real quick.
Awesome
So by the rankings,
Oh,
Junior Dos Santos is actually a logical next step for Tybura. As crazy as that sounds, even though like the fight will never happen, it's not a moneymaker. It's a waste of JDS.
it's a complete waste of JDS coming off this fight for Tybura.
As far as the rankings go, though, like that would be like the next step up.
Yeah. Tybura didn't do anything in this fight to make me be like, JDS, Marcin Tybura, let's get that on. I want to party with that fight.
Yeah, no.
For that, Danny Roberts, David Zawada. This was actually a really awesome fight. Best fight of the night, no question.
Grueling fight. Very grueling from both guys.
Some low-tech grappling in here as well, like Azaitar Miranda, but between two much better athletes with a lot more interest in their games. And I really like Zawada's pressure and like constant high output brawling style. And he would have won this fight if he had just been a little more composed on the ground. But every time he got an advantageous position, he'd just be like, I'm going to jump on a fucking armbar. I don't care. And Roberts, credit to him, fought everything off and was a lot better about keeping position and landing ground and pound when he had top control.
Yeah, there was a moment there in the second round where so Zawada hit that sacrifice throw he went for in the first round that didn't work out. It works out this time, but he like jumps a guillotine.
Yep.
Loses it, gets the sweep, jumps another guillotine, loses it, gets the sweep, and it's like, damn, dude. Like, settle down.
Yeah.
Like, just settle down. It's 2018. Stop jumping guillotines.
No kidding, man. But fun fight. I'm excited to see him again. I mean, I'm kind of more excited to see him than Danny Roberts, who has made his name as a striker in the UFC from the outside and just looked kind of overwhelmed every time Zawada marched in on him. He had Roberts kind of backing up and trying to...
That's just his style, though. Robert looks like that in every fight.
It's true.
You know, which is why I like to watch him, because it's like he can strike, but he's also so hittable that it's going to be a barn burner.
Yeah, he's got that training under what's his name? Hoofed. He's got that hoofed confidence thing where it's just like, I'm a killer until you're trying to come after me, and then don't.
It's like that spliced with a real flinchy natural instinct.
Yeah.
But
fun ass fight though. Made for the night's best fight. For that, probably the night's probably the night's most interesting performance, but that came a little further down the card for me. But still,
most surprising performance.
Nasrat Haqparast. I mean, I picked him to win, so I'm not gonna say it was that surprising. But man,
but you didn't think it was gonna be like that, though.
Yeah, I did.
Really?
Well, yeah, I thought he would just stay composed and just outwork Diakese on the feet and just be the more solid minute-to-minute composed striker. Diakese's...
I didn't think it was going to be that dominant.
No, yeah, I mean, he looked great. Kid's got a sharp set of tools, and Diakese he's still got, he's got the scary power. He's got a few he does, quite clearly does a lot of different things well, but has not strung any of that into a total fight game. And Haqparast just marched him down all fight right to the cage and forced him to make a decision. It's like Diakese had to choose all fight. Do I open up with a big strike and try and hope I don't get countered? Or do I cover and try to run out the side either way and hope I don't run right into something? And either way he chose, it was always the wrong choice. And Haqparast just dialed him up. Fun fight, tough fight. Diakese had moments, hit Haqparast hard every single round, landed big shots, but Haqparast walked through it, and dude looks like a really legit, well-schooled prospect at lightweight.
Yeah, Kelvin Gaston looked great at lightweight, for sure. 100%.
Finally got that diet right.
But now this was a real refined performance. I mean, he looked very wise beyond his years here. The dude's only 22. So, everything he was throwing was hurting Diakese, and nothing Diakese was throwing was hurting Haqparast here. So it's like, damn, dude, this was almost like there were moments where Diakese would, so early on in the first round, Diakese had his range and he was doing this real light volume game, and then he picked it back up there in the second round, but just nothing was hurting, nothing was damaging, nothing was effective. And it's just, he talk about a deer in headlights. I feel like Casey was a deer in headlights. Like, he didn't know what to do. He started going for the takedown. Like, Casey's in trouble when he's
well, he's
panic
actually
takedowns.
a better wrestler than he is a striker. He just doesn't really know that. I mean, that's kind of one of his problems. Is it like, he's put a legit grind on some people. He just absolutely out wrestled the hell out of Frankie Perez, and
True.
he's got that in him, but it's just not like he wants to be that flashy knockout artist, and it's just like, but you only fight well going forward, and you don't actually fight behind a jab or do any like combination work to set up anything, and so he's just really, really prone to getting pushed back.
Yeah, and it's sad too, because like he was looking really sharp on the feet to start out, and it was like he ripped to the body and he got away with it. And then the second he went back to ripping the body, that's when Hagper was like, bet, and that's when he was like, I'm coming forward now. And
yeah, he hit that counter hook, and then he kept tying up the clinch and landing short uppercuts from dirty boxing clinch, and man, he just looked fucking composed as hell. It was a beautiful fight from him.
I did not expect that. Like, UFC debut, and you're looking like the veteran out there.
Well, his debut was against Held. And that was tough. Yeah, that was a tough back and forth fight where he got caught up in a lot of deep wrestling and grappling exchanges where he just couldn't quite keep up. And that was a little bit deer in the headlights from him. This was much more composed.
Okay.
Yeah. Lightweight bout before that, Damir Hadzovic beat Nick Hein. Honestly, like, I scored it for Hadzovic. First 2 rounds could have gone either way. Hadzovic pretty much lived behind his jab. Hein lived behind high volume, low accuracy, hard power hooks. And then Hadzovic just turned it up and put it all on Hein in the 3rd round. Beat him absolutely pillar to post that round. So,
yeah, I thought it was a clear win for Hadzovic here. I think Hein just really kind of struggled with getting on the inside. He was just landing short, like he just couldn't reach his target, and he got peppered real early in that fight and was like real busted up, like real early. So he was kind of just bleeding from the get go, and
it's too bad because he's clearly like very slowly adding more tools to his arsenal. Like now he's throwing the right and left hands with equal comfort. But it's literally like 5 or 6 years in your MMA career, and you're like, okay, now I got 2 hands now. Yeah. So,
I mean, this is classic Hein, just being super competitive with everybody he faces, no matter what, unless he's getting waxed. But that's,
Hadzovic looked really composed. That was nice to see out of him because he's had a problem a lot in the past where he'll just start to get a little wild, feel like he's having a little success, and then just absolutely run in with his chin up and his hands out wild, get himself taken down, get himself cracked. And here he just stayed tight, stuck to his jab, stuck to the long right hand, kept everything composed, and it's a good win.
It was funny when Buffer was announcing the results and Hadzovic realized it was split. He turns around and looks at Buffer, and Buffer gives him a little wink and keeps on reading. And I was like, oh, Buffer, you are so smooth. Like you are the smoothest criminal out there. Big shout out to Bruce Buffer for that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, before that, welterweight bout, Bartosz Fabinski, Emil Weber Mech, and Emil he can't get that wrestling down, man. It's like he does not understand that when you touch his body, he's not automatically going to submit you or knock you out. So every time somebody puts a hand on him, like, oh, I'm going to jump on a guillotine, and this one's going to finish, or I'll hit a flying knee, and this will knock you out. And the other dude's like, I'm just going to wrestle you and take you down and work you over.
Yeah, that was not a good game plan mixed with a lack of ability to get back to his feet in a technical way. And that's a bad recipe for disaster. Like over-aggression. Like, what do you expect, man?
Considering how ridiculously gun-shy Fabinski was standing, that all Mech had to do was stay composed and throw and just keep space. But he would get Fabinski flinching and turning his head and backing up and eating shots, and he'd just run after him, start swinging hooks, and just even clinch Fabinski up sometimes. It's like, what are you doing, man? You are setting yourself up to lose.
And it's like, I understand wanting to put it on the guy that's been away for a little bit. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
But, like, within reason. Like, that was just silly.
Yeah.
Like, man, the flying knee right out of the gate. It's like, let me just lose any kind of distance here whatsoever and just completely, expose my hips. And
one fight for Mech, but this is a consistent problem. Like, this is something even Jordan Meehan keyed in on a lot in their fight before the table started to turn there, and Meehan's kind of, his tendency to psychologically break really got to him. But you look at, what happened with Usman, you look at what happened with a much, much worse version of Usman, and how much lesser a version of that kind of controlling wrestler can he face and still give up all the takedowns?
Yeah, it's like, what did he learn from his Usman fight?
Nothing. He even trained with Usman after that. Like, there's photos of them out training together, so it's not like he didn't try to take something away from it, but he's also been doing this a while now. People see Mech and they kind of think, oh, he's, this young prospect, got the hair and the tattoos, and he's loud. And he just showed up on the scene. So he's 29, but he's probably pretty new to this. And he started his career back in 2011. So, he's been doing this for coming up on it'll be 8 years next spring and 7 years now. And he's probably pretty much the fighter he's going to be at his best.
Yeah, his wrestling is really not good.
Nope. And it's mostly, I think it's just mostly a psychological thing. It's a composure thing, When you put yourself in that bad of positions to get out wrestled, your wrestling's never going to be good. Fabinski shot a takedown on him late in the third round, and he went for a Kimura sweep. Like, he went for a Kimura. And it's just like you're trying to strongman sub in the third round on a dude who's been owning you with takedowns all fight. There's no way.
I mean, he almost got it done in the third, though. Like, he was really putting it on Fabinski. He was hurting him.
Oh yeah, no,
he won that round.
Fight was there to be won. I thought he won the third, but no.
Nah, man, he needs to learn to make people respect his space and stop. And a lot of that is him gifting the space to his opponents.
Yep.
Can't be doing that at this level.
Nad Narimani beat Khalid Taha, and really wrestling heavy performance from Narimani. That kind of surprised me. It's a lot more than I've ever seen him rely on a wrestling game, but he did it and looked pretty decent doing it. I actually kind of gave Taha a late round just because Narimani started going into full just clinging top control, no damage mode. But
yeah, I mean, it was very competitive.
Yeah.
But it really just lacked any big moments.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of just back and forth, nothing huge landed. Like, I can't think of a single punch where I was like, oh shit, or anything like that. So I mean, Taha was landing some decent strikes, but like not.
It was the same. It was kind of a much more composed version of the Mech problem, where he'd rush in and land a nice tight 1-2, but he'd suddenly be right in front of Narimani, who'd just shoot a counter double on him and put him on the mat again.
Yeah, but just without the damage, because Mech was landing some real damage.
Yeah, no, Mech was dialing Fabinski up for every moment that fight was on the feet.
But this fight was grueling too, man.
Yeah. So, I mean,
a lot of the fights tonight were grueling.
A lot of the fights were grueling.
Really?
Most of the fights weren't awful. It's just they were a collection of meaningless fights that were only okay. And when the fights have no meaning, Fabinski, Mech, Hein, Hadzovic, these are dudes. Some of these dudes are just fighting for a spot on the roster. They can't be just grueling and okay. You can't have that back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah, and it's like we're bound to get cards like this.
It happens.
So we just kind of have to take it as it is.
For that, Alexander Rakic. This is probably for me like the biggest, the most singular performance of the card. Just absolutely.
The longest performance. I mean, what Anthony Smith did was like, this was like
I saw that coming. I thought Rakic and Ledet would be nip tuck. I thought that Ledet would live off his jab and kind of coast a little too much, but Rakic would kickbox with him and maybe not know how to get around the jab that well, and Rakic might take a really close decision. Rakic just came out and absolutely fucked his shit up.
Big time, dude. He looked so good. Like he was hurting Ledet on the feet.
Yeah.
And like in multiple ways, he was like hurting him with
cutting angles, doubling and
punches
up on hooks. Oh.
Yeah. And then he's super dominant on the ground. Like threw a lot of volume there in the second round. Like he set the UFC record for strike differential, at least in this weight class.
Yeah.
It was 263 to 28. That's ridiculous. That's like, is there a mercy rule? Do we need to come up with a mercy rule?
That fight really didn't need to see a round 3. Like,
nah.
The thing with Ledet is, and because people will be like, well, why didn't he finish him or whatever? Well, Rakic, maybe his grappling game still isn't the best thing in the world. Maybe he's not a great submission artist. He's a kickboxer when he came into MMA.
He was still ragdolling Ledet.
He was still ragdolling him. Ledet is also just stupidly fucking tough. If we've seen anything over his career at heavyweight, it's that he has a true heavyweight chin that he can just live on. So.
Yeah, I mean, even the referee in between the second and third rounds went over to Ledet and was like, look, dude, if you get in that spot again, I'm going to have to stop it.
Yeah.
Because he was getting pummeled there in the second round.
Yeah.
So not quite a Cain Velasquez performance, but still pretty dominant and pretty close,
Just
I think
complete shit kicking. Really. I scored every round 10-8, and so did 2 judges. So.
Yeah, I think, and on the microphone, I think he made a great argument for putting himself in the top 15. He showed a very well-rounded game. He showed grappling, wrestling, ground strikes, hurting guys on the feet in different ways. Like, let's get him against
now over 2. I realize Bahoz isn't in the UFC anymore, but that's wins over 2 really tough, neutralizing fighters.
He's kicking ass in the PFL though. Back-to-back finishes for Bahoz.
Suddenly, where was that Francimar Bahoz when we needed him?
He was fighting better opposition.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, let's see this dude against like Sam Alvey or Dominic Reyes, something like that.
Yeah, there's some fun-ass fights out there for him.
Top 15 and dudes that'll bang with him.
Yep. For Ledet, I mean, this is a tough wake-up call. The one thing about the light heavyweight division is that it's an athlete's division. Most of the guys who find success there as they go up the ladder are all really good top level athletes. It's not heavyweight where you can just kind of like be, I'm tough and I'm technical enough, and that'll survive. That'll put me through. As long as I have cardio for 15 minutes, I'll win like 3/4 of my fights.
Yeah, toughness and athleticism mean more than technique at light heavyweight, unfortunately. Like, it's just the way of it's physics, it's just the human body.
And Ledet's tough enough, but he looked many steps slower than Rakic there. So
yeah, and Ledet's on his ground game on the bottom is really, it appears non-existent.
Yeah,
like he looks very green on the ground.
No, he shocked himself with his submission win over Godbeer. He's always been more of a boxer who would like wrestle a little to surprise people, but yeah, he's gonna have to find some new. He's gonna have to change things up to keep fighting at 205. Before that, bantamweight bout, Manny Bermudez, Davey Grant, and
ooh, this was fucking sweet.
Yeah, I picked Bermudez. I figured he would come out, and I figured he'd submit Davey Grant, and I figured he'd do it early, but I did not expect him to flatten Grant with the right hand first off. So Bermudez has always looked clunky, but if he can keep stepping that part of his game up, dude is dangerous. His ground game is wicked.
Dude, he locks up an inverted triangle, then transitions to an armbar, then transitions to a regular triangle, and then puts Grant to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, the sequence. Like, that's a club and technical sub.
Yep.
It doesn't get any better than that.
Just basically knock the dude out twice,
Yeah, it's like, man, you have nothing for me.
His MMA career is just fucking cursed, man.
Grant needs to get Bermudez a Father's Day card because he just got sunned straight up.
Yeah, no, that's Grant's first fight in 2 years, dealing with all sorts of like last minute cancellations, medical issues, all sorts of stuff like that. Just got wrecked in a minute.
It's like, maybe it's not meant to be, bro.
Yeah.
You're forcing it. But that's back-to-back triangle wins for Bermudez, who called out Benito Lopez in his post-fight interview, which I'm okay with. Hell yeah, and I actually favor Bermudez in that.
Lopez is a much slicker striker, and he's tough, but he's also wild and willing to get himself into all sorts of bad positions. So if Bermudez can survive standing or even crack him, there's a great chance for Bermudez to do some work on the mat. He's too dangerous for anyone to want to tangle with on the ground.
That finishing sequence was intense. Yeah, like, that's beautiful.
For that, Darko Stosic beat Jeremy Kimball, and he answered at least the basic question I had about him, which was, is he actually a capable fighter to beat anyone who isn't 40? And he looked, I mean, I was surprised because I was watching, I saw Kimball's doing all right. He was probably pretty much winning the early part of this fight. Landed this clipping head kick, was, whatever. It was all just boring and nothing to it.
He was like kind of flowing strikes out there trying to gauge.
Yeah. And then he shot into that wild takedown. And I looked down for a second and I looked up and I was like, oh, Kimball must be on top. He must have got it. Because Stosic, like I said, I've only seen him fight like, what's his name? Dion Starring. And then I realized, I was like, oh, wait, Stosic hit that throw. Like, he actually countered with that nice hip throw, which, I mean, it wasn't even a technical thing. He just kind of beasted him to the mat.
Yeah.
And then
way on top.
Absolutely clubbed Kimball into unconsciousness pretty quickly. Like, that was pretty shocking. That was nice to see. It's nice to see that Stosic has some real power and strength in that frame, because he's an incredibly low output striker. But man, if you can hit like that, if you can make that kind of thing happen when you need it, then he could be a fun fighter at 205.
Yeah, watching him put his foot on the gas was impressive.
Yeah,
because on the feet, like super reserved, like you're saying, like to the point where Kimball was throwing strikes just to try to get Stosic to engage in some way.
Yeah.
And then he's like, for whatever reason, went for that takedown and shot from pretty far away.
Oh, yeah.
Ends up on the bottom.
Way outside.
And then the dude just like steps on the gas, hits the nos, and was just like, boosh. And like next thing I know, like 30 ground strikes are being landed. The referee's like pulling them off. And I'm just like, holy shit, this is Pro Cop's protege. Like, damn right.
And that's why you talk about, we talk about light heavyweight being an athlete's division, because it's a division where there are dudes like that, and Kimball can like fill all the space with strikes and be like scrappy and in there. And then the dude he's fighting is just going to be like, look, I'm way, way stronger than you. It really doesn't matter. Just push you out of the way.
Yeah. And
just stuff him in a locker and lock it and padlock it and then fucking go to lunch.
Yeah. But he has to take Kimball's lunch money first, which he did.
Well, he did. Kimball retired after that.
Did he retire?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, put it out on Facebook. Said, I'm not doing this because I lost this fight or just because I lost this fight, but I've been thinking about it for a while and I'm done.
Okay. Good on him, man. I respect the shit out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, calling it quits.
For a dude who is clearly not any kind of pro caliber athlete, he made a run to the UFC. He won a fight in the UFC. He put together a solid career. He won a fight on Bellator, and he was a really good regional fighter, beat a lot of dudes there. And like, man, dude looks like he smokes a bowl right before he steps in the cage.
I was about to say, it looks like my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
I know this guy. Hey, Jeremy's fighting from down the street.
Yeah, exactly. So
doesn't he owe you 20 for that bag? Never mind.
For that, Pingyuan Liu fought Damian Stasiak, and Liu got a contested decision. I was happy to see it just because I thought that he pretty clearly did most of the damage in the fight. And Stasiak,
down.
Like, Stasiak was competitive. There's a good argument Stasiak won the first and the third round, but they were close rounds that, like, the Pingyuan Liu clearly won the second, and then the first and the third were, like, razor thin. You could go either way, and it's just like, at that point, I'd rather see the guy who's doing more damage and working a little harder, landing a little bigger shots to win. So
yeah, definitely the damage for sure.
yeah,
Like that spinning back fist was sweet. You know,
yeah.
he made Stasiak look like he tasted something bad. Um, but yeah, so this was a good debut for Ping Yon. Solid takedown defense. He's won 9 straight, which is kind of
Yeah.
cool, and I'm down to watch him fight again.
Yeah, it's coming out of that Embo camp, which, I mean, say what you will about making children fight, but apparently it turns them into pretty good fighters.
I mean, historically it has, anyways. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
so
But Stasiak's lost 3 in a row now, so his
yeah,
back is up against the wall.
yeah. He's got similar problems to Kimball, where it's like he's a scrappy dude, he's well-rounded, he can, he's tough to put away, he can go out and fight with anyone, but not, especially in bantamweight, like the way bantamweight is turning over right now and all the prospects they're getting in, being a tough dude who's not much of an athlete is bad news.
But he has a black belt in karate.
Yeah, he does. He's actually like a really highly well-regarded competitive karate black belt, but we kind of went through all that in like 1993 through 6.
Well, no, it's getting a resurgence. Maybe he'll be in Karate Combat.
There you go. Yeah, Karate Combat League coming for you, Damien Stasiak. Ooh, moat fighting. Dude would be a master of the moat. All right. On that note, sad seeing Shogun go out like that. It was always going to happen if he kept winning fights and getting more tough fights to face. And Smith was just
Like,
the right man. The right.
Did we really expect Shogun to like come out and get a win and then make a run at the title and become champ again?
No.
Come on.
No.
Enough of the charade.
Yep, and for Smith, like this is a career-making chance for him. This is that point where you've won that big headline fight that people didn't even think you were ever going to get, and now suddenly you can call out Alexander Gustafsson. Although apparently, I'm also hearing
the rumor that Gus is out of 227.
Yeah, that fight ain't working anyway. So maybe now you get the Jimmy Manuwa fight, and now you have to take
They're
that.
like, oh, you're gonna fight Manuwa, whether you call it out or not.
Yeah, and then Manuwa knocks him out, and then we never hear from Anthony Smith again. But whatever, he's got his shot. He made his call. Hopefully, he gets something big out of it, and hopefully, that's the best thing to come off a card that otherwise I.
Well, and we have new blood at 205. So like, good night for light heavyweight. Actually,
good night for light heavyweight, and a couple of fun fights and a bunch of stuff I'm just not going to think about ever again. So. On that note, you can find me on Twitter at These Anytime. You can find Eddie on Twitter at the Eddie Mercado. You can find both of us over at BloodyElbow.com, day in, day out. We'll be back next week after UFC on Fox, Alvarez versus Poirier 2 to give the 6th round for that. I'll be back ahead of that to do the vivisection with Connor Rebish. And we will have If I Did It and Heavy Hands and Care Don't Care and all those normal shows we do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, MMANation.com, DOTCOM, all spelled out, and give this video a like, thumbs up down there while you're at it, while you're here hanging out. That shit helps us a ton, I swear to God. And thanks everyone for tuning in. We will see you soon.